Hello and welcome to your daily dose of Satoshi's news. Today's day is Wednesday, the 9th of April 2025, the year BSV comes alive. Experience the best of both worlds today at betbitcoinsv.com, the best casino and sports betting on chain. Have a little flutter in private using the original protocol and genuine Bitcoin. Right, let's see what we got today. Check this out. Right, so Jacob King has just reported on it on Michael Saylor's post saying, remember when Saylor promised he'd never sell a single Bitcoin? Looks like things have changed. Oof. MicroStrategy's position is teetering near a net loss in today's SEC filing. Oof. Right, so we'll have a look at that. Sounds interesting. Brian Doherty has also dived in on this one as well. There's a little message here by Saylor himself. I'm going to read this article by CSW because it just looks absolutely epic. We'll get through that as much as we can. Just going to talk about these posts here from Lord Talbot. This one here about the Titanic because it's got 20 million views. 20 million views. The truth is getting out there. Jeepers. With the anniversary coming up in 6 days' time. Also going to comment and read this post from Craig, and going to check in with the transactions because they're still looking great, and I'm probably taking a rally at the moment. Look at that, green candles all over the place. Good grief. Right, some 365 days of Bitcoin history, and then that'll be the end of the show. Right, let's get into it.
See Satoshi like a cowboy in the West, riding on the blockchain that they call the very best. 1 million strong, them transactions flying free. Just wait for the Terra node, you'll surely see.
Here we go. Right, so Jacob King has said here, remember when Saylor promised he'd never sell a single Bitcoin? Looks like things have changed. MicroStrategy's position is teetering. Teetering? I'm sure his average buying place was something like 57,000. It's now 77. So MicroStrategy's position is teetering near a net loss in today's SEC filing. The company now admits it may be forced to sell a GregCoin below cost just to service its debts. It's all about when the market keeps sliding. This is exactly the outcome I predicted would happen. So much for diamond hands. Yeah, you remember like Saylor was saying, mortgage your house, do all this, do all that. He's like, oh yeah, but it doesn't apply to us, really. So let's see this. So a significant decrease in the market value of our Bitcoin holdings could adversely affect our ability to satisfy our financial obligations. As of March 31st, 2025, our outstanding indebtedness was $8.22 billion. And our annual contractual interest expense was $35.1 million. Additionally, as of March 31st, 2025, we had outstanding $1.6 billion aggregate notional value of our perpetual strike preferred stock and perpetual strife preferred stock, with respect to which we are required to pay aggregate annual dividends of $146.2 million. Our enterprise analytics software business has not generated positive cash flow from operations in recent periods. I mean, is that because they just think numbers going to go up forever? With cash coming in? And may not generate sufficient cash flow from operations to satisfy these financial obligations in the future. That is a classic Ponzi scheme. So they're relying on cash coming in from the customers, buying MicroStrategy stock, and then using that cash coming in to pay out the dividends of previous investors. That is absolutely a Ponzi scheme. That is going to collapse. That is absolutely going to collapse. As part of our Bitcoin strategy, we expect to incur or continue to incur. Yeah, because look, they've got to pay dividends out. There's no way the company is going to pay that out. It just simply doesn't have the profits or the turnover. They're relying on the profits in the form of value of the increase of GregCoin, which we know is an absolute piece of shit. Dear oh dear. As part of our GregCoin strategy, we expect to incur or continue to incur additional indebtedness and fixed charges, and we expect to issue additional preferred stock. If our enterprise analytics software business does not generate cash flow sufficient to satisfy our financial obligations, which it never will because the share price is up such a lot purely on speculation of the value of GregCoin. Including our debt and cash dividends obligations on our preferred stock, we intend to fund our obligations using cash proceeds from equity of debt financings. Our ability to obtain equity or debt financing may in turn depend on, among other factors, the value of our GregCoin holdings, investor sentiment, and the general public perception of GregCoin, our strategy, and our value proposition. Accordingly, a significant decline in the market value of our GregCoin holdings or a negative shift in these other factors may create liquidity and credit risks. No shit, Sherlock. As such, a decline in such shifts may adversely impact our ability to secure sufficient equity or debt financing to satisfy our financial obligations, including our debt and cash dividend obligations. These risks could materialize at times when Bitcoin is trading below its carrying value on our most recent balance sheets or our cost basis. As GregCoin continues, the vast bulk of assets on our balance sheet, as GregCoin constitutes the vast bulk of assets on our balance sheet, we are unable to secure equity for debt financing in a timely manner. On favourable terms or at all, we may be required to sell GregCoin to satisfy our financial obligations, and we may be required to make such sales at prices below our cost basis or that are otherwise unfavourable. Any such sale of Bitcoin may have a material adverse effect on our operating results and financial condition, and could impair our ability to secure additional equity or debt financing in the future. Our inability to secure additional equity or debt financing in a timely manner on favourable terms or at all, or to sell our GregCoin in amounts and at prices sufficient to satisfy our financial obligations, including our debt service and cash dividend obligations, could cause us to default under such obligations. Any default on our current future indebtedness or preferred stock may have a material adverse effect on our financial condition. See risks related to our outstanding and potential future indebtedness and risks related to our preferred stock. For additional details about the risks which may impact us if we are unable to satisfy our debt service and cash dividend obligations. That is serious. So they're taking on this debt, selling shares, and their cash obligations are increasing when Bitcoin does not create a dividend. Bitcoin does not create a dividend because it's a value. That's all it is. It doesn't actually create profits. And so what they're trying to do is they're trying to say that the increase in the value is profits, but it's not. It's just increase in value. You don't actually have any income coming in. So they are absolutely good. They're going to run out of cash. Cash flow is king. And there's no way they're going to be able to pay it back. Because it's not going to go up like he thinks it is. Because Tether is not printing anymore. And so, but really what was happening was that Tether was printing, number was going up, Michael Saylor was selling stock and then buying number go up on the back of Tether printing. What Michael Saylor needs is to create a Tether print for himself. That's what he really needs. Don't we all need that? Don't we all need our own central bank to do that? To debase the currency and do counterfeiting and securities fraud and all that. That's what the whole world is based on. See, look, he has no idea how thin the ice is that he's skating on. He's got no idea. And he's blocked me, so bad luck, mate. Otherwise, you were buying GregCoin. Sell your Bitcoin. Never sell your Bitcoin unless... Yeah. That's really quite funny. Ego is what that was. Needs to learn to humble himself because he's gonna get humbled, seriously humbled. Brian Doty's also waded in on this. He said, here's a better question. How does it feel right now when BTC has dropped nearly 20% this year alone, despite the most overtly pro-Bitcoin administration in US history? Good point. Really good point, The filings speak louder than the tweets. When your own risk disclosures acknowledge that strategy may be forced to sell GregCoin to meet financial obligations, it's clear that this isn't just about long-term conviction, it's about liquidity under pressure. The myth of never sell sounds noble until the debt comes due. Absolutely. Look at that. we may be required to sell GregCoin.
Volatility was a gift to the
Volatility was a gift. Give me a break. Yeah, only if you're trading in a dollar worshipping. That's the only reason. Let's have a listen.
Volatility was a gift to the faithful. It scares away the tourist. It scares away the lazy. It scares away the people that are already conventionally rich, that have all the money. If you're a 20-something or a 30-something and you're willing to do the work, if you're willing to spend 100 hours or 200 hours, if you have more time than money, then the volatility of Bitcoin is a gift to you.
What? The volatility of Bitcoin is a gift to you? What?
If you have more money than time, and you're arrogant and egotistical, and you just pick the obvious, then if the volatility goes away, you buy Bitcoin. If people in the rest of the world knew what I know, and they understood,
you know, jack shit, mate,
and they agreed with me, Bitcoin would go to $10 million tomorrow.
Oh, shut up, mate.
Tomorrow. And if Bitcoin went to $10 million tomorrow, I want you to think about
yeah, all right, mate.
About how you would feel and how your viewers would feel.
Rich?
Because you would lose 20 years of stacking opportunity during which you get to buy at less than $10 million.
Oh, my God.
So the difference between $10 million and 100,000, that's what you give up if the volatility goes away and people start to agree with you.
Yeah, but what you're actually buying has got an economic fundamental value of 0. So you're wrong, basically. Good grief. Right, let's get onto this post by CSW. See if we can get through all of this quickly. So Jefferson demanded a Bill of Rights. Hamilton called it superfluous. In hindsight, who was right, and what does this reveal about Americans, about how Americans understood freedom in the 1790s? Hamilton was wrong, not mistakenly, not ambiguously. He was wrong by the standard that matters, the moral one. Government is not a loving parent or a wise guardian. It is force, legalized, formalized, structurally bound force. That is its nature, its essence, and any system of government that does not acknowledge this fact in law will eventually express it in tyranny. Yeah. The Bill of Rights was not doctrinative. It was not supplementary. It was the necessary firewall against the metaphysical fact that men are fallible, power is corruptible, and law is a servant that becomes a master the moment you treat it as an end in itself. Hamilton, in Federalist 84, argued that listing right was dangerous, that by specifying some, we implied others didn't exist. This is the same evasion a pickpocket might offer when they ask what else he's taken. The Constitution, as written, was a grant of enumerated powers, but power once granted and not explicitly fenced in does not remain confined. It leaks, it rots, it expands. Rand understood this. The proper function of government is to protect rights, not to interpret, invent, or limit them based on expediency. Rights are not permissions. They are recognitions of morals, absolutes derived from a man's nature as a rational being. The fact that Hamilton feared the enumeration of rights revealed his underlying error. He did not trust men to remain moral, and yet, paradoxically, he was willing to trust institutions to remain constrained. That contradiction is not ignorance, it is evasion. Jefferson, by contrast, recognized that rights must be made explicit, not because government ought to violate them, but because it will, unless forced not to. The American misunderstanding of freedom in the 1790s was rooted in a fundamental confusion. They conflated liberty with tradition, rights with permission, and reason with consensus. Only a few, like Jefferson, reached towards an individualist ethics, but none completed it. Rand did. Hamilton's report on the Republic credit and Jefferson's note on the state of Virginia outlined opposing futures. Which is more suitable, and how do their views of human nature diverge? Hamilton's vision is structurally fragile and morally inverted. Jefferson's is ethically incomplete but closer to a rational society. Hamilton's plan consolidated debt, national banking, centralized credit, relies on the assumption that men must be bound together not by shared values but by shared obligations. Debt becomes the lubricant of government growth, a tool to create dependency while calling it investment. Hamilton trusted the mechanism more than the man. That alone would be sufficient to damn his model from an objectivist standpoint. Jefferson's model, for all its romanticism, at least places moral agency where it belongs, in the hands of the individual. He saw value in a decentralized republic of self-reliant producers, but his failure was metaphysical. He appealed to natural rights without defining their source in reason. Rand would grant him partial credit, nothing more. He sensed the truth but did not fully grasp it. Yet even so, his system, rooted in individual action and local responsibility, reflects a clear view of the man that Hamilton's top-down design. Hamilton assumed men could not be trusted to act rationally unless financially manipulated into it. That is not economics. That is a cynicism disguised as policy. Rand's heroes are not tied to the soil, but neither are they shackled to the state's spreadsheet. They are the thinkers, the builders, the producers who exist because they choose to create. Jefferson's farmers may lack the abstraction Rand celebrates, but at least they are not parasites. Hamilton's creditors, by contrast, are given moral status through the mere act of holding paper. Is public debt democratic, or is it a threat to self-governance? Public debt is the political form of moral cowardice. It is the evasion of responsibility wrapped in rhetoric about growth and unity. Democracy has nothing to do with it. A thief does not become virtuous because he was elected. Debt, when incurred without voluntary contract, is nothing but institutionalized theft. And when a government borrows, knowing it will not be the one to repay, it's not planning, it's looting. Rand said it directly, there is no such thing as a collective right. If one generation incurs debt, the next cannot be bound morally, only legally, and only under a system of injustice. The state under Hamilton's vision became not a protector of rights, but a redistributor of burdens. Debt was called public credit, but it was nothing more than the moral laundering of future theft. To claim this is democratic is to misunderstand both democracy and morality. Democracy in Rand saw it. It is not a license to violate rights, and self-government means precisely that. The government of the self, not just politically but ethically. A man who votes for bonds to be repaid by others is not engaging in citizenship. He is purchasing privilege with stolen time. Hamilton's system created layers of abstraction, of dependency, of moral fog. It separated the act of consumption from the act of production. It taught men that the fruits of labour could be delayed indefinitely, discontented from effort, deferred onto others. This is not an economy, it is a slow-motion collapse. Jefferson's fear was right, not because debt makes men poor, but because it makes them servile. The final words, the Bill of Rights was not a safeguard against tyranny. It was a moral declaration that tyranny has no authority. Hamilton's model of public credit was not the foundation of strength, it was the beginning of the end. And Jefferson's vision, while flawed in its premise, was closer to the moral truth than the financial sorcery of Hamilton's bureaucracy. Rand would not praise the past, she would not celebrate Jefferson or denounce Hamilton for their personalities or prestige. She would judge them by the standards that matters, the sovereignty of the individual, the inviolability of reason, and the sanctity of moral action. By that measure, the answer is clear. And somebody said here, I'm not as wise, but are you talking about politia, ses republica, in original meaning, coming from Platon and Ciceron? And Craig said, I am. Alright, God, he knows so much. It's just incredible. Great article, really enjoyed that one. So going on from tyranny and sovereignty and all that, Lord Talbot said here, so we are at step 4. And he said here, it's not chaos, it's planned. 1. Import migrants, destroy culture. 2. Jail citizens for criticism. 3. Turn police against citizens. 4. Invoke digital ID, surveillance. 5. Bankrupt nation to eliminate government. 6. Eliminate private property. 7. Transfer citizens to global government. I'm very much inclined to agree with that is exactly what's going on. Check this out. So Nerd History said the Titanic didn't sink the way you think. JP Morgan had a first class ticket on the Titanic, but he cancelled at the last minute, along with 50 of his other friends. His biggest financial rival stayed on board and never made it back. Here's the truth about the unsinkable ship. 20 million views. 20 million views. And look at that. That there is the Olympic. That is not the Titanic. Because you can see these the windows on B deck. You see they're not uniform. They're custom. They're different spaces apart. And that was B deck. So this is the Olympic. Extended bridge wings, windows on B deck. We'll count the number of portholes as well. Yeah. Whoa. Oh, look at this one. This is the famous photo that confirms the switch. There's Titanic there, look. So Titanic didn't have any bridge wings, just went straight up. And the windows on B deck were uniform. They weren't custom. Whereas this is the Olympia. Look, it's having work done on it. Because HMS Hawk had gone into the stern, so they repatched that up. And it also crashed into the Nantucket lifeboat as well at the front. Yeah, dear oh dear. Dear oh dear. And that's what led on to the development. Oh, there we go, look. Burn area, look at that. And that's the Olympic with the extended bridge wings there. Look at that. Look, burn area. No way, yeah, so that's actually where they had a fire in the hole. Or in the hull. And Titanic there has been painted on. But the actual the name of the ship is actually engraved into the bow, not painted on. And there's a submersible that's actually seen the letters M and P beneath the plate that they'd riveted over it. Dear oh dear. Oh, there we go. Check it out. HMS Titanic or RMS Titanic or RMS Olympic. Can you spot the difference? Same photo enhanced. Black and white view of window spacing and the square hole. Photograph of RMS Olympic. Look at that. Look at that. Photograph of actual Titanic. Look, yeah. So the windows there, they're all uniform rather than custom. Oh my goodness me, that's fascinating, that one. Wow. Wow. The truth is coming out. Truth is coming out. 20 million views. Look, no wonder Twitter had to post a notice underneath it. Amazing, amazing. And here we go. CSW has responded to Bitfinex when he said, "Don't worry, guys. There's no way Bitcoin price can fall below $74,000. It has been programmed." But I think Bitfinex is actually being sarcastic here. But Craig has just responded saying, BTC breaking below $74,000. Of course it will. It'll slice through it like wet tissue. Down, down, nearly to zero. Unless you're counting the Vietnamese dong. Then maybe it still looks like something. But in dollars, it's a slow motion nosedive in a tuxedo. All dressed up like digital gold. Still can't buy a cup of coffee or hold a protocol steady. It's not a question of it. It's not a question of if. It's gravity, and BTC is just another overpriced myth headed for the pavement. Oof! If anybody knows, it's Satoshi Nakamoto, and he's saying that about it. If I was holding something that he created that he was saying that about, I'd be like, whoa, okay, yep, getting out of that. Right, check this out. Look at that. So we're back in business at 25 million transactions in the last 24 hours. Where are we now? Like 22.9. Still massive though. 89.4% of the entire market. And what's going on here? Look, all in the green. Suddenly got a rocket under its under its belt in terms of US dollar. What's going on? Let's have a look at that compared to GregCoin. Look, it's even up on GregCoin. So BSV moved first. Genuine Bitcoin has moved first. What are they going to do? What are they going to do? Oh, there we go. Look, they've started pumping it now. Might be worth having a quick look at the tether. Let's have a quick look at tether weather. See what's going on. Has there been an injection? Oh no, there hasn't. No, there hasn't. But they might just be pumping it with other shitcoins that they've got. Who knows? Wow. But Bitcoin here, flying, loving that, loving that. Right, let's have a look at some 365 days of Bitcoin history. We're now April the 9th. Here we go. Down here. Oh, there we go. That's the Titanic. Oh, look at that. The extended bridge wing, and there's the letters. Look, M and P. Look at that. Titanic was the first ship in living memory to sink as a result of a collision with an iceberg. You know, like Twin Towers and all that, you know, all seems to happen at the same day, doesn't it? You know. So April 9th. Here we go, April 9th. So April 9th, 2024. This is a quote here from Adam Back. So, no need to follow a valid chain when the only technical validation you require is the market price. According to Adam Back, Satoshi didn't understand Bitcoin back. That's what he said, yeah. So Adam Back says Satoshi didn't understand Bitcoin. Look at this. So he said here, the chain tip is the most work valid chain. The economic actors in the system decide which blocks are valid. That's why it's expressed as an impenetrable wall of validation. That's a key innovation that makes Bitcoin secure. Most other systems are not verifiable. And Time Corner Joe has said, how does a user node, the majority of the other user nodes, accept the block as valid? How do you count to see if you have the majority? And he said, I suppose by proxy of the market value of the Bitcoin versus the forks. So Joe has said here, so an exchange oracle is more valuable than miners building blocks. So an exchange oracle like is one that sets the market price. So he's just like, yeah, it's the market, because they think that these are securities. They don't actually realize that Bitcoin is an economic model. They just think it's a speculative piece of crap that does nothing. Oh, the market's decided. We don't need to look at any other figures. They have no idea about the block reward going down to zero and the block fee having to surpass the block reward in order to have an economically self-sustaining system. They don't understand the value of economic competition. Has to be economically competitive. Yeah, and I guess actually this is what I think Ryan was missing in his post earlier. I wonder if he's responded. Let's have a look. Replies. Yeah, I'll just only one like. No, normally get more than that, but I mean this is what people need to know. It's the Bitcoin protocol, which is the 5 elements: the economic competition, chain of digital signatures, unbounded scale, fixed token supply, and then a lock protocol that secures the network. Hashing has to remain as purely hashing, so that hashing/miners remain completely unaccountable and therefore not responsible for any of the utility on the network generated by its users. Hashing cannot be used for anything else. And this is economically, in order for it to be a commodity. The miners literally do nothing but supply hash rate. They cannot do anything else. Otherwise you don't have an economically competitive system. You move to effectively sort of like proof of stake if there's no competition, and then it becomes a security offering. So. Yeah, anyway, there we go. That's a 29-minute show. We'll leave it there. I hope you enjoyed it. So as ever, if you enjoy these updates, please ding your donations for your appreciation to either Satoshi at Senbit.com, handcash.io, rockwallet.me, simply.cash, relasia.com, or senti.ch. We'll leave it there. I hope you enjoyed it. As ever, be aware, take care, stay safe out there, and we'll see you in the next one.
The king still has one more move.